Live from New York, it's a show that had their makeup session interrupted by someone breaking in while I was just trying to get, beautiful. Said,
Really?
oh, wow, there's breaking news from camp. Now,
Breaking news.
when Ben Johnson shuts down
my
practice,
gosh.
it's a non-story.
Why are you like this? I gave this to you because I thought you would want it.
Well.
I could have just hid it from you.
What?
I brought this to you because I thought you would like it. You then were like, oh, that is interesting.
It is. That's
And
why I
now
led the
you're
show
turning
with
it into anti-Caleb
No, I
propaganda.
did not. It's a Ben Johnson thing.
Okay.
Aaron
you want
Rodgers threw an interception.
first play of practice.
Something
Threw a
or
pick
nothing, bro.
To Patrick Queen.
Well, I'm going to say nothing because I said it was nothing when Brock Purdy threw interceptions last year. Turned out to be a little something.
We're starting with the Super Bowl MVP, who is so locked in on this upcoming season, he hasn't even put his Super Bowl ring on. No reports on whether he's pressed the little button and had the wings come out. Criticism is out there, debatable, that perhaps, even though he ended the season covered in green confetti, maybe he's not doing enough. Okay, Brew, your reaction.
You can't help but love this.
Okay.
You can't help but love this. Look, this is a guy that's been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1 in his 4 years as a starter. He could easily have come out and just said, look, I would like to see, in light of all the criticism or doubt about him, look, I've shown, in the Super Bowl and in other games that I can throw it, and I have individual goals too. Mm-hmm. So I would like to get out there and throw it a little bit more. I'll talk to Nick about, we'll work some of that. He could have easily said that and been justified to do it. But he said, I am about winning. And I'm glad he threw it out early. Like, I know he was asked a question, but I'm glad he got it out there now because now this sends a message. And I know he and A.J. Brown are friends.
Oh, this is smart.
But it kind of sends a message like, look, we're not changing anything. We're going to win. If it means throwing it 31, 32 times here and there, then I'll do it. If it means throwing it 20, like I did, I think, when they beat the Rams, then we'll do that in the playoffs. So he's just about winning. And look, I've said this before, and I'm going to put it out. I'm going to keep putting it out there until it really gets out in the media landscape.
Oh, okay, good.
Like a lot of my revelations have.
Jordan
Brock Purdy as Drew Brees.
Yep.
Mahomes is Jordan
You're
Ness.
still on the Brock Purdy as
Oh,
Drew
yeah,
Brees?
yeah,
By the way,
absolutely.
we can't help.
Saquon is going to have a
Saquon, Christian McCaffrey,
type
like all
season.
that.
A lot of that stuff.
People grab hold of that months after I said
That
it, maybe a little
sticks.
longer.
Yeah.
But his legacy is going to be about winning. He is going to be like the Terry Bradshaw of this generation.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Russell Wilson.
Well, I've said he's like Terry Bradshaw.
Okay.
No,
Gotcha.
I think he'll win more. Russ got one.
Yeah.
I think Jalen will probably get another one down the line
Okay.
at some point. But Bradshaw was never viewed as the best quarterback in the league. He was MVP 1 year, but Jalen's already been second in the MVP race. He may get an MVP as well. But Bradshaw, in the playoffs, obviously won 4 Super Bowls. And in the big moments, no one was more clutch than Terry Bradshaw. He played his best football. And that's what Jalen Hurts will go down as. So I love that he put this out there.
That would be great.
And that's what they need to do as a team.
Maybe I was projecting with the Russell Wilson piece of it because Russell Wilson to me is the more contemporary example of a guy who went through something very similar. And I did not think it was unfair then, and I don't think it's unfair now, where you give the guy credit for how he plays in big moments. Mm-hmm. You give the guy credit for leadership, toughness, those things. But you also recognize, like we did with Russ early on, that, again, and that Cam has talked about this, and we'll get into the Cam conversation in a bit, was he driving the bus of that team, or was that, in Russell's case, Legion of Boom led Marshawn as the kind of lead drummer, and he's on. I didn't play in a band like Wilds did, I assume.
I never played in
You
a
just
band.
seem like a
I
guy.
played a little
you
clarinet,
played
to be
in
100%.
Okay,
I could see like an air supply.
Absolutely,
great.
yeah.
I would like that.
You know what?
Cool.
You know what I mean? Like that's what it was with Russ early. And then later in Russ's career, he developed more as a passer. Now, the teams weren't as good. I wouldn't put that on him because mid-2010s Russell Wilson was awesome. You know what I mean? Was never considered the best quarterback in football, famously. Never got an MVP vote. But was consistently really good. And you at times, while it's not a knock, seem like almost annoyed by this conversation, while I love it because I think this is a consistent through line across sports, which is who deserves the credit and can you, like, what I think the late, great Kobe Bryant was on the record. What championship meant the most, at least while he was playing? Now, maybe at sometimes he would say that Brady said the next one or whatever, but it was the first one without Shaq.
Yeah.
Because there was always the question, can he do it without Shaq? We talk about Brady and Belichick all the time. Like, Tom did it without Bill, but Bill didn't do it without Tom. Jeff Van Gundy, during the broadcast of the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals, says LeBron, and at this point LeBron already had 3 championships, had been to 8 finals, said LeBron James will never accomplish anything greater than getting this team to these NBA finals, because it was the inverse of this. Now you can disagree with the take,
Cleveland,
but the point was that we deify man. Look what he dragged as far as he dragged it, even if it doesn't win a championship. And we look with a questioning eye to the stacked squads. It just is. It's what we did to Kevin Durant. It's what we did. Like there's those things happen. And so to me, it comes down to how you view Jalen Hurts in a lot of ways. What is the number one most important thing you want from your quarterback? And there's not a right answer to that, because I think your answer, Wildes, would be winning.
Well, yeah, that's generally why you play the game.
But I think some people, and I think Coach's point was, when he's evaluating quarterbacks, it's when it's 3rd and 8 and everyone knows you're going to pass, can I reliably ask you to drop back and do it?
For what reason? In that scenario, then what's the point of that?
Because it can lead to winning, of course.
I'm just further down the narrative road than Coach and you guys.
Well, I don't think that's totally fair. I think that there are different things, and and this might be unfair, this is why I don't think Jalen's been criticized. I just think people are frustrated he doesn't get enough credit, so to speak. Until you see a guy in a bunch of different circumstances, you don't know how they would do under those circumstances. And so that's the question for Jalen that I don't think exists for the other guys that are in your top 5, right? Like the other guys that are in your top 5, you're pretty confident they would win and do awesome with the Eagles, but you're also confident that they have won and done well with very different teams. I think that's what it is, and I don't think that's unfair to him. I think that's how we've always done sports.
That's good.
I just think quickly, I think the question is, there's always a combination of individual brilliance and team success. You know, I mean, Bill Russell had the team success, and he obviously was a terrific rebounder and defender, but Wilt Chamberlain had the individual success. Some people feel Wilt Chamberlain was better, even though he won 2 rings compared to 11. And others feel Bill Russell. So this is the age-old question. And it's true. Look, if the Pacers had won the championship, or we don't even have to go there, the Pacers beat the Bucks in the playoffs. Does that mean Tyrese Halliburton is better than Giannis Antetokounmpo? No. You know, so that's kind of related to what this is. And this is where I think when LeBron talked about ring culture, it's a nuance. Like, winning is very important. But it doesn't mean just because a guy who's a very good player won a championship that he's better than a guy who was phenomenal but never won a championship.
And that's KW. Go ahead.
No, I don't think Jalen Hurts gets enough credit because what he is willing to do is right up there with all the other sacrifices that we see great athletes do. Whether you're willing to cut your finger off, or even Halliburton going out there knowing that he's risking a career perhaps altering injury, Jalen Hurts is willing to say, you know what? All I care about is winning. I'm going to shut out all the noise, and it's really who I am. Dating back to Alabama, if you watch that game or go and watch it on YouTube, when he gets pulled and they win the game afterwards, there is no like, man, He is 100% locked in supporting Tua. It's actually who he is in his DNA. So he's never changed. He's always going to be this guy. And the fact that he is willing to sacrifice.
But what do you think he's willing to sacrifice right now? Like, that's the question I have.
The fact
individual
that
stats.
Yes.
Because I think he feels like he could put them up.
So
yeah.
And I think that's where maybe you view him differently than I think what you would call his critics. I think some people think he is obviously a great leader. He obviously cares about winning. We talked about the Alabama stuff back when it was happening, all the intangibles. But I think there are some people, maybe fairly, that think this style he is not sacrificing. This is the style the only one that he can win with. Which is fine. No, but that's the difference between a sacrifice, right? Because I think and I think that's where Cam, and I asked you this off the air, and who's better, Cam or Jalen Hurts?
Cam
and
Newton.
my answer is Cam Newton. If someone's like, why? My answer to that is kind of, I just believe it. I just believe it. And part of that is, do I think Jalen could have done what Cam did with that 2015 Panthers team? And my answer to that is absolutely not. I don't think there's 12 quarterbacks in the history of the league that could have done what Cam did in that moment.
Isn't that unfair where, put Joe Burrow in the Ravens offense? Is that going to work?
Well, I think,
maybe not. So does that mean Lamar is automatically better than Joe Burrow? You might think so already, but when you start to switch guys around in scenarios with offenses that are built either for them or that they have succeeded in, I think it's unfair.
So that might be so maybe that specific example is unfair, because I also think you can say Jalen couldn't have done what Cam did. We don't know that if you put Cam on this Eagles team, they would have had as much success.
It would have fallen apart.
It feels like they would have been awesome.
Reading a book on the sidelines.
Because he can run. Cam can run.
It feels like they would have, right?
Look, I agree. I do feel like Cam is better than Jalen. But assuming Jalen Hurts has a long career.
He could go down as a better quarterback.
He will. I think let's say he wins another Super Bowl. Or he just has a winning career, even if he doesn't get another Super Bowl. Accomplishments, that's why it's nuanced, how you say somebody is greater. And for Cam, the challenge is, the numbers, even, Cam's numbers in the regular season, I thought you might bring up Cam, so here we go. His numbers in the regular season versus Jalen's. And this is Cam at Carolina. So I didn't even put in New England. Yeah. Cam only had 8 really good seasons. So look at the numbers.
But why do you still immediately answered Cam was better?
He's more talented. Cam was more talented and dynamic. And then Cam has a couple issues. One, when you compare him to Jalen, the stats aren't as good as Jalen's overall. And then look at the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah.
And Cam gets criticized for not diving on the fumble. But, the Super Bowl numbers, Jalen has play his best football of his life in the Super Bowls, and Cam obviously didn't.
But
3 turnovers, passer rating.
Was Cam saying he was better than Jalen Hurts?
No, in this latest one,
much the implication.
In the latest one, Cam said he's like, and then Cam's ego gets a hold of him, and it's like they're talking about all the things Jalen has that you don't. I can go down the list of things that I have that Jalen doesn't, which would be, Cam's one of 8 people ever to win the Heisman and league MVP.
Yeah.
The reason, and maybe we've gone on too long with this. Right. I can never tell if I'm annoying you.
No, I'm not.
Because
blanket, yes, but we're good on
you can err on the side if you're annoying.
But I find some of this really fascinating because you have very clear, I think, relatively fair baseline metrics. But I also think you think Cam was better. And there's no way it goes against everything that you believe in, except for the fact that you're like, man, Cam's best was all-time great best. And I don't feel that yet with Jalen. And
I think that's fair.
And I think that's fair. And I also think
but Cam, the reason how this all started was Cam had Jalen at 10, and he made a nice top 10 list. And people like Justin Herbert, who have had no postseason success, were ahead of him. with the idea being, and it's fun to talk about like Cam's point of view without trying to, get into his head. But it's like, all right, Cam is looking at the game in a different way than I look at it. He's looking at sort of, as a quarterback and as an elite quarterback, he can spot elite talent.
And I also think he
was far more talented.
And Brew, don't you think across sports, and then I guess we can leave it, there is a distinction between evaluating a guy based on just by virtue of their existence, how high your floor gets, and
as a team?
Yes. Like that's a metric that really helps Cam. Like prime Cam Newton, drop him on any team, and they have a relatively high floor because of his ability to do. And by relatively high, I just mean
his
but I mean just
8
wins, something like that. Even if you don't have this squad around you, I think that another way is a guy's ability in his specific situation to make the most of it. Jalen gets A triple plus on that second category, but I don't know where he would be in that first category. I think at some point we'll find out because the Eagles won't always have a super stacked roster. They won't, you know what I mean? At some point you'll get to see it.
I'm going to throw out another comparison to Jalen Hurts. It's cross sport. Draymond Green, a winner. Great at what he does. Draymond is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Draymond on that list we debated the other day from Bleacher Report was 60-something.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys individually that feel like, man, I was way better than Draymond as an individual player. Shooting, ball handling, whatever it might be.
I guess he was 88 on the list. But
because he won and because he did his role to perfection, essentially, just like Jalen Hurts. I think that's a similar comparison. Draymond's going to go back down as better than a lot of guys who have more skills.
I totally agree with that, and here's why I like Draymond. I think some of Steph's greatness is Draymond is directly responsible for some of Steph's greatness. I'm not taking anything away.
The Saquon year, Jalen doesn't get enough credit for.
Yes, for everything. I think Sirianni's a great coach because of Jalen Hurts. I think Saquon had his best year ever because of Jalen Hurts. I think
the O-line.
Yes. Honestly, honest to God, when Jason Kelce retired, there goes the tush push. Really? Okay, we didn't miss a beat on it, and now the league's trying to ban it. Wow. Sorry. I'm trying to feel myself.
Wow, this guy.
I told you, Miles, I'm out here, dude. Devontae Smith's best year.
Look.
A.J. Brown, is he better in Tennessee or is he better with Jalen Hurts? Everyone is better when they're around Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts is being carried.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I'd like to say, because we've talked about A.J. Brown. Is he going to feel like, somewhat understandably, man, I got to get my numbers. I'm trying to be Hall of Famer. There's another way for receivers to get in the Hall of Fame. You win a lot.
Well, tell that to Julian Edelman. I've been trying to say that.
Well, but with great numbers.
Right. I mean,
Julian had very good. Julian didn't.
Yeah, you have very good numbers, but you consistently win. You make big plays in the big moments. So AJ has to weigh. I mean, he's going to put up good numbers. And if they go deep in the playoffs or get to another Super Bowl or keep getting the Super Bowls, then A.J. Brown, that helps his case, too, for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, for sure. And he is the one because there was also the other thing, we didn't talk much about it, post-Super Bowl, the whole, what do you get more satisfaction of that A.J. and Devontae were talking about? And the answer was absolutely mixing a corner and watching the defeat on his face more than any team. And by the way, that's part of what makes you great. Is, trying to win your individual matchup, but it's also why wide receivers can be the more hard to corral emotionally because so much of it is one-on-one. I need to defeat you, and I need someone to be throwing me the ball to do it.
I'm just going to tell everybody as we enter into the NFL season and predictions week, I'm starting to get radicalized with this Jalen Hurts stuff.
We can tell,
It's starting to, I'm going to.
But what did it?
It's going to get weird here.
Why?
I'm going to end up showing up like the guy with the Philly Fanatic on his belly button. That's going to be me. It's going to be weird.
Hold on. Wait. I know we're late, and I know we got to go.
I don't know, but I'm just trying to. It's just like, I realize, like, if I redid this segment, I'm like, I guess my only place to go is he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah,
and be like, well, slow down. What if we traded him?
down.
What if we traded him to the Panthers?
Are you
I'm like,
saying
I don't know. I don't know what would happen to if he got traded to Panthers. I know he ended his season smiling with confetti on him, smoking a cigar, and everyone else was watching on TV except one of my other guy who was playing in the game. I'm getting radicalized on this stuff.
So say it then. Say it with your chest.
I'm not ready yet. It's not prediction weeks.
Hold on.
But there are contests. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there isn't
contests.
you know what?
Yeah.
What would it be
yeah,
like if Kyrie played Bob Cousy one-on-one? Wow, someday, maybe with AI. There are contests every Sunday. And Jalen Hurts takes the field against another quarterback. He takes the field against Matthew Stafford. Yeah, and they play, and one guy wins.
They're not on the
and then
field
Jaden
at
Daniels,
the same time.
And they play, and they come, and they're like, yep, all right, good, I win again. And then him and Patrick Mahomes play, and one guy wins there.
Brew, hold on.
I'm trying to lose it.
You're surprised by this, Brew?
He is this close to saying Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the
NFL. Somebody beat him.
Hold on.
Show me somebody can beat him.
It's a team game.
Then let's play. Then we shouldn't talk about it at all.
Hold on.
We should just be talking about tennis.
You guys are, Brew, you seem
He's
shocked by this.
I told you, I got to get radicalized in the segment.
That's fine.
What is in that cup?
Hold on, real quick. Let me say this. That's not the takeaway. The takeaway is the least surprising thing ever. It's just NBA wilds becoming NFL wilds. You know the team I think's the best? The team that just won. You know who I think is going to win again? The team that won most recently. No one's beating the Eagles in a one-game series. And by like that, I mean, that's what you're saying.
That is very
When you grind the tape like I do.
It's not surprising. Well, thank you, guys. There it is.
You know what?
There it is.
Turn it green. Put in a little green leotard with wings on.
There it is. That's perfect.
I'm feeling good about Jalen Hurts.
I told you that had to be the take a month ago. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.